I can't wait to say this. Kamala Harris. For a while, there was the risk that this was going to be a new Papadopoulos for me. One of those that unintentionally I mispronounced. I usually get it right. I'm probably like 90% Kamala Harris. There have been instances where I've unintentionally mispronounced the vice president's first name. And every time it's happened, believe me, I hear from people. And I have to lay this off on callers in part, because sometimes the callers will put it in my head and I will say it. And like, you'll call and we'll engage on the vice president and you'll say it incorrectly. And then it plants a seed in my head and then I repeat it. And of course, on a particular cable outlet, they do often mispronounce it, and I think deliberately so. But David Urban is a friend of mine, and Bakari Sellers is a friend. We're not as close because we're distant. David is a Pennsylvanian. And Bakari Sellers and David Urban were on with Anderson Cooper on CNN last night, and the name unintentionally became an issue. Listen to how it unfolded.
I'm cool with the T-shirt, just like you said.
That's
Let's
David
have
Urban.
Strategy, okay? Let's have the strategy. Let's focus on Kamala Harris's record. She ran for president
Got
before
it right.
and ran miserably.
Kamala Harris.
Ran miserably. Her own campaign staff said, listen, we quit. This is the worst run campaign ever. I've been involved in 3 campaigns, or state director of 3 campaigns. I've never been treated or seen staff treated worse than any campaign. She quit. The editor of the Sacramento Bee, who worked for Kamala Harris previously, said,
Kamala
if you
Harris.
can't run a campaign,
Got
how
it
do you
right.
expect to run
2
the
for
country?
2.
When you look at her words, we don't have to guess what she's going to run on. We can just look at her own words. And her positions are incredibly extreme. I agree with Bakari. Listen, I don't want to attack Kamala Harris as an individual. Let's look at the policy. Let's have a debate about policy.
Stop.
Okay, good.
Stop.
Good.
Stop.
Kamala.
David, you're a brilliant
how
man.
am I pronouncing it, Bakari?
That's my point exactly. That's my
Well, tell me, buddy.
That's my point exactly. The fact is, her name is Kamala. But if you call a woman,
Kamala,
who is
Kamala Harris, okay, I'm saying
a DEI hire.
Wrong, Bakari.
Wrong.
No,
guys. First of all, let's not talk over each other because nobody hears.
Yeah, Bakari, I'm talking about, and you know me, and shame on you, Bakari, because you know me better than that. So shame on you.
Okay, you see what it devolved into? You see what it, and I like both of these guys. But from what I heard and what I watched, where David Urban 2 out of 3 times was correct in saying Kamala Harris, and then the third time puts the accentuation on a different part of her name. I think it was totally unintentional. But you see how sensitive this has become, and you see what a lightning rod it has become if you don't correctly pronounce. I'm serving notice. Here's what I'm really trying to do. I am serving notice that I will always treat the vice president with dignity and respect. And I recognize her name is Kamala Harris. If I screw it up, it's entirely possible I'll screw it up again because I've screwed it up in the past. But I want you to know it's unintentional and I don't play that way.
Yeah.
And neither does David Urban.
Right.
I have to say that in defense of David.
And neither does David. The problem is that the far right does play that way. So they are the ones that have screwed it up for you and for David and for all the people that are trying to get it right. It's like Barack Hussein Obama. Like, it is an absolute dog whistle. It is rude and intentional for some people. And therefore, it is ruined for everybody who is not. And that's the problem.
I have often been in the position. In fact, this happened to me on CNN within the last 3 weeks, where I had a guest. The guest had a complicated name. Before we went live, I said, here's the way that it works. I say, David, who's my producer in Atlanta. David, can you open my mic to the guest? Yes, mic is hot. Hello, Miss Cannon. Is that how I pronounce your name? Well, I wouldn't say that with Cannon.
Because what I say to guests here is,
wait till you hear this.
I always ask with Smerconish.
You don't know this.
Okay,
you don't
go
know
ahead.
this. So in this particular case, the guest had a complicated name, and I said, how do I pronounce your name? And the guest told me, and I said it out loud.
Right.
And then I wrote myself a note.
Like a phonetic note.
Yes.
Like you and I do.
Show goes live.
Oh, no.
I welcome the guest. I said it incorrectly.
Trip over it.
I said it incorrectly.
But I don't think that's so unusual. I really don't think that's so unusual. I know your intentions are always good, but this is just such a specific thing on the right.
But I want to say this. I believe that this is Potter Stewart and pornography. I believe I know when I see, I know when I hear someone who is deliberately trying to be dismissive of the vice president.
Right.
And someone who is just screwing up.
Right.
Like David did.
Right.
So can we please give a break to the David and the Michaels who don't have animus, okay? And we just might make a mistake from time to time. Smerconish, Smerconish. I mean, come on.
Right.
I get it.
There's also that thing.
If I were so sensitive, believe me, if I had a nickel for every time my name was mispronounced.
There's also that old WASP adage of praise in public, correct in private. So I think perhaps if Bakari, but you see, it's become a bigger thing now. See, this is the problem is it really has become a bigger thing now. Like I have heard other people correct when these things come up. It has become a bigger thing, and it's not your fault that it's become a bigger thing. It's their fault. I'm pointing to a certain monitor. That's whose fault it is.
In my head, I now have a comma.
Just think of the word comma.
Comma.
It's so easy.
KAH-mah-lah.
Right.
KAH-mah-lah.
Right.
Look, this thing's going to get, I hope I'm wrong. This thing's going to get
worse.
ugly.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to get
For
ugly.
sure.
And it's just like, I'm not looking forward to it. I'm really not. I'm going to talk about it each and every day, and I'm eating and sleeping and drinking this campaign. But can we please just treat everybody with dignity and respect?
Oh, that's
make
not
all
gonna
of your
happen.
points.
That's
make
not
all
gonna
of
happen,
your points.
Michael.
There's enough disagreement between the two of them. You can make your points, but let's also lighten up on the inadvertent mispronunciation of the vice president's name. Thank you. I'm Michael Smerconish, and I approve this message.
Well, and we can also just all try a little harder to pronounce it right. Come on.
I'm trying.
I know you are.
I'm trying.
I'm not saying you.
Yeah, I'm trying. Believe me. But I'm also the guy who could not say George Papadopoulos for the longest time.
Right.
No matter how and it got in my head.
Right. Which is
Sometimes
neither
these things
neither sexist nor racist.
No, it's just stupidity.
Right.
On my part.
No, it's not stupidity.
Okay. All right.